Hello, you are watching Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. I'm the host, and my next guest in the show today is Janet Barccarni, who's the founder of Dedicated Financial Services. She's here today to talk about ways that you can save money. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute. When I ask my guests for their top success tip, you'll hear Janet's. So Janet, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Shannon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great having you here. Now, Dedicated Financial Solutions you're based in Mississauga. You've been around for a few years. It's financial planning and advice that you provide.
Yes, that's right. I guess I've been involved with it and started it about, it was in 1998, so I'm not sure how long ago that is right now. But, and then my daughter joined me in the business after she finished university, Jennifer Black, so it's a full partnership.
Oh, fantastic. Of course, and Jennifer was on the show not that long ago. I had the pleasure of introducing her and talking about Widowed.ca, something that together you've created, an online resource for widows and widowers and their loved ones. So do check it out, Widowed.ca. But your interest in becoming a financial advisor was an interesting one. It's something that you...
Oh, how I got there?
Yeah, how'd you get there?
Well, actually, I'm a chartered accountant, and actually, even when I was in school, in high school, I always wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to help people. But when I went through university, I realized I liked math better than science.
Yeah.
And the idea of being involved with people's bodies every day didn't really appeal to me anymore.
Right, yeah.
So I decided, because I really enjoyed doing tax returns, that I'd be a chartered accountant. And that worked out quite well. I've had quite a very diverse career in software development for doing tax preparation, and that was for the professional market. Also, I was the director of tax and accounting for Thompson Company, providing services and product for the professional market as well. And at one point, I just started to feel like I wanted to work for myself and my clients. I wanted to be doing more for, have a bit more flexibility. And it's interesting what Judy said in the first half of your show about when you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business, you get to choose which 12 hours of the day you work. Well, that's very true. But you do get a choice, so it is great. And you have a little more flexibility with your family. And then the family can join you as well. So I decided to go into financial planning so that I could help other families manage their finances in a way that they could maximize the value of what they had and make sure they were looking after their families and doing estate planning and so on. And tax efficiently, of course.
What do you love about your job?
I really love the fact that I can really make a difference. It's amazing. So many people just don't know how to structure their whole financial situation so that they are making the most of what they have and they're doing it in the most tax efficient way possible. It's just not something that most people are familiar with. And we can also help them discover what their true goals and objectives are and narrow that down and create a financial plan that will help them achieve those goals for themselves and their families.
Because they could be making costly mistakes too if you don't have somebody helping you out and you don't maybe see the problems or obstacles ahead. If you take plan B, it's really wise to have someone there to guide you, even if you don't listen to them. To at least to provide some wisdom and their expertise.
And that's very true. I mean, quite often people will not see the immediate value of some of the advice that they're given, but once they follow through with parts of it, they can see how it all fits together and how things you're doing on one side can complement the other and actually create a bigger win for the whole family.
I mean, and I would imagine that every individual has a very unique situation financially. So you know, you've got the singles, you have single mothers, and you've got young couples, and you have elderly couples, and you have families, and you have all sorts of combinations of people, business owners, those that are employed, those that may be unemployed. So who do you like to work with the most? What kind of clientele?
Oh, that's a good question, Shannon. There's a couple of different areas that we specialize in.
Yeah.
You already mentioned Widowed.ca,
Right.
which is a website we created. And we created that because we realized we did have a lot of widows and widowers as clients. And it wasn't something that we went out and tried to get originally. It was just, I think they were attracted to us, partly because we were willing to spend the time. You know, if you're a financial planner, obviously you're trying to make money for yourself as well as for your clients. And time can be something that's a scarce resource. But we really like to get to know our clients. And I think that a person who's been left, their partner has passed away, someone like that really feels the need to connect with somebody, and they also need somebody to bounce ideas off of. They need help making decisions. And we found that we were very good at listening and helping them restructure their goals. All of a sudden their partner has passed away, and it's not even all of a sudden. This process can go on for years, where you're restructuring your goals because what you had thought or dreamt would happen isn't happening anymore.
It's the end of a dream.
Yes, and so you have to create a new dream. You have to create new
Right.
goals.
Yeah.
And with that, you have to create a new financial plan as well.
Right. For you, and thank you for sharing that. And in fact, actually, my sister, speaking of Widow.ca, my sister is a widow. She lost her husband a few years ago in the military. And her son, my nephew, got a scholarship this past week for post-secondary education that was pulled together by an organization called Canada Company, which pulled a bunch of Canadian senior business leaders together to provide these scholarships for kids who've lost a parent in the line of duty. So he managed to get the scholarship, and it was really like a nice thing for him. So there are options out there, for widows to look, if to get some support. Now, Dedicated Financial Solutions. Tell me a little bit about what that company, what your services are.
So we are an independent financial planning company, which means we are not tied to having to sell product from any specific financial institution. So we can look for the best products and services for each person's individual situation. And that would include estate planning, tax planning products, investments. And on the estate planning side, what you're really trying to do is to ensure that your family is looked after if, for whatever reason, you're not able to work anymore and not bring in an income. So it could be from passing away or being disabled, having been in an accident. It might be for a short time that you can't work and you want to just cover that off, or it might be for a longer period of time. On the investment side, we help people plan what they would like to do for what they want to achieve. So when do they want to be able to retire? And how much money will they need to have saved up so that they'll be able to live the way they want to live in retirement? And what we're finding now, more and more, is that people may want to retire from the job they're currently in, but they still see themselves doing something else. And that something else might be something that will generate income, and it may not be.
Right.
But most people,
hobby.
Yeah, it could be
travel.
a hobby or travel, and quite often people take their hobbies and create a business out of it. And it's really interesting, because if you love to do something, why not do it for others as well, and make
why
a little
not
money as well?
That's right. Find a way to get paid handsomely for it. Now, we are about to take a break, and I know that you have a great tip. It's our Good to Know Minute, and I know you've got a great tip, Janet, so jump right in.
I want to say that you asked me, well, what is something that would make somebody successful, a tip for success and happiness? And I think that everyone should be employed doing things that they really like and that they're good at. And this can evolve over time. So the things that you like and you're good at can change, and also you can try new things and find out you like them and you're good at it. So don't be afraid to try new things and to try new jobs and try new careers. Any job that you have doesn't have to be forever. Try it, see if you like it.
Thank you so much. So try something new. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Janet Barccarni, so stay tuned. You are watching Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking with Janet Barccarni, who is the founder of Dedicated Financial Services, a senior financial advisor. And we're talking about ways to save money. Now, I just want to talk about RSPs. There's a lot of marketing around RSP season. You cannot miss it because it's everywhere. The advertising is huge. There's a lot of pressure on people to buy RSPs, and it may not necessarily be right for you, or it may, but you know, how do you know?
That's a good question, Shannon, because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of media around RSPs, usually in January and February, when all the banks are saying, here, come invest with us. And RRSPs are a great tax deferral and tax savings vehicle, as long as you're in a tax bracket. You know, so you're saving money at your top marginal rate. When you make the contribution, it gives you that deduction. And then when you withdraw the money in the future, you're supposedly going to be at a lower tax bracket, and therefore you'll pay less tax, and also it's in the future, so you've deferred the tax expense for that number of years that the money has been invested in the RRSP. However, there are other things to consider about that RRSP purchase, and people should have a plan around their RRSPs. Quite often I'll meet with new people and find that they did these last-minute RRSP purchases every year in January or February, and they're all over the place. In fact, I've seen people who have forgotten they even had RRSPs at specific banks because they did it at the last minute when they were working at a specific company, and that bank was across the street. So they ran in and made their purchase, and they don't even remember they did that. So money can get lost. If it's not all consolidated in one place, you're losing the ability to actually plan how you're going to invest that money in any type of strategic method.
Right, sure.
Also, with the RRSPs, you'll find that people who have RRSPs and have put money in may not actually have paid down all their credit card debt. And that can also be a big issue. Like, why would you be paying high interest rates on credit card debt, maybe 18%, 20%, to put money into an RRSP that may only be making 1%? You know, there's a big disconnect there. And then you have to look at the person's tax rate as well to see if it was even worth making any contribution that year.
So do you think that it's just really a mindset that some people might feel more comfortable, even though they know they're paying a higher interest on a credit card, that they've justified it? It's okay, it's temporary, and they have plans to pay it off. But with the RRSP, at least there's comfort knowing that they're planning for the future, so they're not really thinking about the cost in the moment, that it's more peace of mind for them, what they're doing. I mean, does that make sense?
I think what they're doing is someone's told them, well, you haven't made your RRSP contribution yet, you better go do that. So they've been told that's a good thing to do.
Maybe some guilt?
Yeah,
if they don't do it?
Right, and then probably the people who are advising them may not know their whole financial situation. They may not understand that this person has credit card debts that should be paid down first. So that's why it's important to have a financial planner that works with you and knows your whole situation. Because if you give piecemeal advice, it's probably not appropriate.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, you know, it's also difficult to get different pieces of advice from different advisors as well, and different people who don't have as you mentioned, don't have your whole picture. Is forced savings really the only way truly to save money? I mean, there's a lot of products out there, but you know, there are people out there who will say the only way I can save money is forcing myself. So, you know, having a house really is forced savings, or they see it as forced savings. Or instead of buying a product, if they're you know, if they're going shopping and they're going to buy a product and they don't buy it, instead what they would do is take that cash, whatever, say it's $20 that product would have cost, and put it in the bank because they were going to buy that product anyway. They didn't. So why not shove that into my savings account? As a way of forced savings. Do you think forced savings is really the only way to save money?
Forced savings is not the only way to save money. Certainly, a lot of people need that because they're not disciplined on their own.
Yes.
So if you can't discipline yourself, and then paying a mortgage, for example, where you have to make a monthly payment every month, and part of that is paying down the principal. As you said, that's an example of forced savings.
Yes.
And a lot of people do that and are able to do that, but they can't discipline themselves to live within their means otherwise. So it is a very good way of forcing people to save. And in fact, with RRSP contributions, for example, if someone isn't disciplined, we'll ask them to just let us take the money out every month automatically from their bank account. And then they don't even really realize it's left the account.
Yeah.
And then their RRSP is growing outside of that, and it was a way of forcing them to save. But there's other ways of saving where people are disciplined, and maybe it's a good opportunity. Like right now when the market is low, it's a good opportunity to be buying investments, and therefore you might take out a loan to buy those investments, and then that loan interest is tax deductible. And when you're buying something when it's a good value, it's low, then it's got a much better chance of growing substantially over the years in the future.
Now, what about I mean, as we touched on earlier, I mean, you know, everyone has a unique situation. I mean, what kind of advice would you give young people who are just, I mean, today's the day, kids are going back to school. What kind of advice would you give youngsters?
So for kids who are in school still, obviously they don't have a lot of cash flow, usually. First, I would tell them...
Although maybe they've got more than some adults.
Yeah. First, I would tell them get a part-time job
right.
before you start spending anything. And I find it really unusual these days. I find that a lot of clients come in and they talk about their deadbeat kids who aren't working, but they never encourage them to work when they were younger. You know, when they were in high school, I feel like when I was in high school, everybody had a part-time job. And that was a long time ago. But now, for some reason, the kids don't all have part-time jobs. They seem to be able to get enough spending money from their parents. And I think it's important for kids to learn the value of working, to understand that, you know, if they go out and do a good job at, even if it's delivering newspapers or working in, you know, at Tim Hortons or something, they're actually going to make some money that they can use for their extra spending. And they need to know, don't spend more than what you've made.
And also it helps them develop their self-worth and skills, and there's a social aspect of it. I mean, there's so many benefits, learning to stand on their own 2 feet. Yeah. Lots of benefits. Now, I know that you have some tips that you'd like to provide the viewers on saving money.
Yes, well, one of them was live within your means.
Right.
Like, make sure that you don't spend more than you have. Whatever you're spending your money on should first be for, you know, the essentials. And then if you have money left over that you haven't already earmarked for your retirement savings or for the mortgage payment, then you can treat yourself. But pay yourself first, which means put some money aside each month, probably in your RRSP, to let it grow while you're not even, you know, before you even spend on any extras. And if you do that, then you will at least be growing something for your retirement.
What do you recommend then to small business owners or entrepreneurs who their situation may be, you know, ongoing cash flow issues. With our first guest, Judy Johnson, we were talking about that, and with her business that provides alternative financing solutions for small business owners. So what kind of advice do you give small business owners when they've got that cash flow crunch? They can't really pay themselves first because maybe it's just not really quite possible. Money's going out faster than it comes in, as it seems to do. It seems to be the law of money for many people.
Right.
But what kind of advice would you give them if they're living off credit cards? I mean, a lot of I know a number of filmmakers, they make their films by maxing out their credit cards, and they take risks, and that's the way that they can get it done. It's expensive, but they do it. So, so what do you suggest?
There are quite a few ways of financing things, and as you said, Judy was talking about one way, which was financing receivables.
Yeah.
And for entrepreneurs, one of the things that they're doing with their business is creating value. So it's like building, so for someone who just has a job, like as an employee, they can be putting money into an RRSP to pay themselves first.
Yeah.
Whereas an entrepreneur who has his own business is really paying himself first already by putting all the effort he is
creating the value
in the business itself.
Right.
And hopefully, if it's something he loves to do and is good at, the value will continue to increase in that business.
Right. Well, thank you. So already paying yourself by putting value in your business.
Right.
And you have another tip?
I have another tip, and that is you should have a financial plan. And that financial plan obviously does change and evolve over time. But you should know where you're going, because if you aren't aiming at something, what do you think you're going to hit?
Right, yeah.
So you should be aiming at something. You should have a plan in place that is going to get you there, and you should review that plan every year to make sure that you're still on track, and maybe that your goals might have changed even. Maybe you took a right turn and you're going to go over there instead. So you need to adjust your plan to make sure it goes there.
Anything else? Very insightful, so thank you.
And another thing is, these days when the stock market is so volatile, people get really nervous and they tend to pull back and say, okay, I don't want any part of this. So they end up pulling out when things are low, and then they don't get confident to put their money back into investments until the market goes up, and then they feel comfortable again. So that's the exact opposite of what you should do to create wealth. If you really want to create wealth, you need to be going into the market and purchasing investments when everybody else is running away because they're so afraid. And then when everybody else is thinking, oh, wow, everything is wonderful.
Time to get back in again.
Yeah,
it's a little late.
Yeah, it's a little late, and the people who are already there should be thinking, okay, are things getting overvalued now? Do I want to take some profits? And that's the way to actually create wealth, is to, I mean, it's very difficult to time the market, but you want to make sure you're not doing the absolute opposite of what you should be doing.
Well, Janet, thank you so much. I'm afraid we're out of time, but it's been very delightful and insightful. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, for more information about upcoming shows or to contact me, please visit the website at extraordinarywomentv.com. Well, if you are interested in transforming your life, I hope these stories have inspired you. You're watching Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. We'll see you soon.
To them and start talking again, it starts the whole cycle again. And now it's up to the club, hopefully, to get